G'day, listeners. You're back with Benny, Banksy, and Boydie, the basketball blokes, dribbling all things Aussie hoops and NBL fantasy. And we're on video tonight. A little bit weird.
Yeah, so we'll be doing a video feature, and we'll have the podcast as normal, but we definitely recommend we're going to be doing a draft tonight, so you'll be able to see our teams and our player pool and some of the statistics from the best website in the world. We're going to go with that. Best website that Banksy's ever made.
Best website in the universe, basketballblokes.com. And seeing as my hair has definitely got a lockdown vibe to it, want to shout out to all our Melbourne, Sydney, or New South Wales, Victorian, South Australian, Queensland's on the border. Like, they're all hotel quarantine, I think, today, the numbers. But shout out to
you shampooed today, haven't you?
Shampooed today. No, I think it was yesterday. I was in the garden yesterday, so
it's just got that extra bit of fluff about it, doesn't it?
Yeah, because it's got a little bit of length. I was a bit worried it wasn't growing on top anymore, but I've got a little bit of length here again, which is good.
Yeah, no, I've gone the ISO beard, so I needed to get that on video, basically. Just hopefully I'll be shaving it on Tuesday, fellas. So, Boomers won. We decided we'd do the podcast after the Boomers, so that was good. I just thought, in case you missed out on the coverage. With Channel 7 cutting it short. Were you aware that the Boomers won, Banksy?
I was. I watched bits and pieces. I saw Exum injure himself about 17 times. So
that's our owner.
Hey? Yeah, but I saw bits and pieces. So
yep.
Looked like we turned on the Jets when we needed in the second half.
As you just said, Dante, I wanted to give a bit of a shout out. I was pretty impressed with his game tonight. I know he had a few turnovers as well. Which was highlighted by one of our patrons who always likes to disagree with me. But I thought he played really well. His defense was really good at times, and he looked like, I'm hoping that's like the flick of the switch. I know he's been injured for it feels like the last 3 years, doesn't it? So hopefully this is, this Boomers campaign, hopefully he can go on and smash it and get back to the NBA and start smashing it over there, because I think he's talented. It's just never been able to put it on the park or on the court.
Yeah, I certainly enjoyed tuning into the Olympic coverage, and but although we get triple doubles in the gymnastics, boys, that's not where we want to see triple doubles. I've been missing out on my fantasy basketball, and came up with a bit of an idea that we are hoping to use a little bit throughout the pre-season in doing a draft style roster, snake style, and you'll be able to see player pool. And which I've got up here now with Cam Oliver, and these prices that you see from our rolling rosters page, which has been calculated on last year's magic number, I guess. So you can make sure you check those out on the Basketball Blokes website, which has been getting a bit more popular. So
subject to change those prices, obviously, for all the newbies. So don't hold it against us if they do.
Yep. So for the purposes of going through this draft, fellas, we've got new imports, and we've had best guess at their pricing and at their positioning, should I say. Someone like Trice, who's played in the NBL previously, we've slotted in at $1 million, using Cam Bairstow as the basis for that they didn't take in his season. And then the season that he had off as well, he just went back to the stock standard $1 million mark. And Duop Reith, fellas, I know we had some discussion about this as well. He's locked in at $1 million at the moment, basically based on Landale coming in at $1 million. We know that they had been done cheaper previously. But yeah, so that's the player pool with our expected pricing, and we'll have some team sheets that will come up that you'll be able to see throughout. And hopefully, with our $5.5 million and an average of 0.91 per player, that'll mean we get to talk about some value players that we're kind of looking at this very, very early stage, fellas. So, bit of fun. We're in lockdown. Good to catch up, I think. And as the top bloke, Boydie, where would you like to draft from? First, second, or third?
Well, I thought I'd give you blokes a chance, and I'd go third.
Okay.
Obviously, that entitles me to pick four as well, and obviously we'd do reverse snake order or whatever.
Sounds a bit more strategic than gifting us some picks.
Just giving you guys a head start, because you all need it, especially you, Banksy. We probably should just give Banksy the first top 5 picks, I reckon. Benny?
Well,
You'd probably still beat him.
He's the ordinary bloke, and he'll be having slot number 2 because I'm going to go first with my selection. And
Sounds like a standout pick.
Yeah, look, we'll get straight into it. So, Bordy, if you can control the copy pasting, mate, I would like to go bargain shopping with my first pick. And at 390k, I'd like to take Dane MV Pino. Now, Pino is obviously priced at 390k. He averaged
320k.
320k, should I say?
Yep.
I'm jibbing myself. Averaged
Basically
8 last season. If you look at our prior year averages, you can see that Dane Pino averaged 8.9, and then in his good, healthy season for the Phoenix, blew up to 39.5 points a game. And to go back to 8, I'd like to know your opinion. I don't think he'll quite get to the 40 points a game, but I think he'll be a playable player. The fact that Creek, on our rolling rosters here, we've got Creek slotted in at the 4. If Creek gets in foul trouble, you could see a Pinot and whatever import they get lining up. Pinot might even start like he did if we get a Keith Benson quality import. So, that's who I'd like to take. And let's just have a look at the team sheet there. Slotted in there, Dane Pinot. Oh, I've got over $1 million left to spend.
Chuck him in there at centre.
Done.
Okay, good for go. Banksy, you're up, mate.
All right. I love, Benny, that you've come up with this idea. It is a bit of fun, but I like that it's going to actually get us to very early on identify a bit of value because we've got, a 5.5 million cap. We can't fit all the $1 million players in there or above, so it's going to force our hand to actually look at the value with the current rosters. So I'm going to go with someone I feel's very undervalued. I'm going to go with two-way Magnay at pick 2.
Okay.
Now,
Nice.
I documented this we've got a couple of preseason articles out so far, and I documented this in that first article there, that obviously he came in very late into the season last season, into that systematic Perth team. So, I wouldn't take too much away from his average last season, but obviously the season prior to that, as soon as he was, got that start as opposed to coming off the bench. I think I had down there the 7 games he started or got into that starting role in the season prior. He averaged 45 fantasy points a game. So to get him at 790k this season, he's the only real big man there at the JJs at the moment. So he's half the price of what I foresee him being in the season proper.
All right. Very good. Can't argue with that one. Boydie, where are you looking, mate?
All right, so I've got pick 3 and pick 4 here, so I can do a little bit of strategic sort of stuff. So I am going to... Oh, I've lost my screen. What am I doing here? Look, I'm going to go with... I'm going to be a bit biased, and I'm going to go with Rowdy Brokoff with my first pick.
Okay.
From Sem. I think... had a couple of games in the 40s on fantasy points. His average was 22.5 for the year, but we know he was kind of broken up by that injury. No rhythm, came in halfway through the year, sort of didn't really gel that well, I guess. I think, he's signed on again. He's bought a house. He's got a dog. I think he's going to get comfortable. Yeah, over the weekend, he's got a new puppy for the family. So, I think once he settles down, does a full preseason here, I think you can probably see him be even more part of the rotation at Sem. So I'm going to back him in. I think he's good for maybe an average of 30 odd, maybe even a little bit more with a little bit of help. So I'm going to slot him in as my first pick. Let's chuck him in there, and then am I going to go basement bargain shopping? Look, it's hard. We haven't given ourselves a lot of leeway here, have we, with price? So I think I'm going to have to go a bargain. I'm going to try and lock up the bargains that we think will probably start first. So I am going to go with Luke Travers from Perth.
Great pick. Great pick.
I'm going to take him. I'm going to slide him in there at power forward because he was a small forward, power forward here. So I'll chuck him in there. That looks delicious now.
You've got Rowdy there as a shooting guard. Would you not prefer to, like talking some strategy, just have Rowdy in at shooting guard, Luke Travers in at small forward? freeing up
Possibly.
a
I can
power forward.
play around with
play
him as I
around,
go,
yeah.
can't I, Benny?
Yep,
So
true.
I'll put him in there for now, and then we can
Oh.
muck around with that. I was going to ask you the same question about Dane, but I thought we'll just work it out later. If you
Yep.
switch it up and pick a pure centre later, you can chuck Dane into the power forward spot.
And look at your
But
average
now
remaining salary. You've had
million.
was that? Well, that's excellent. Right on the million
Yes.
mark. So
Perfect. So
you can
I've got a
go
little bit of money to spend.
millionaire shopping from now.
There might even be another bargain I might even pick up, which will allow me a little bit extra dosh. So
Alrighty.
we'll see what we go.
Back to you,
Banksy. Back to you.
All right. If you give me a moment, I'm just going to try and filter my players to those that have recently purchased dogs. So that should somewhat help my next pick. Let me see
like
here. Oh yeah, there's a couple of imports that have purchased dogs recently.
There's
Very
no
good.
Kobe Lamar Patterson situation, is there?
No, unfortunately not. All right. I think I'm going to go a little bit differently here. I'm not loving any standout value for my next pick. You covered the one I was going to go in, Travers, but...
Interesting, though. That's good that I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's good because we haven't spoken about this off pod, really. We just sort of have done our own thing, so...
Benny's got a list of 8 value picks, apparently. The top 8 picks he's got.
Wow. Okay.
I went with I wrote up a quick little ADP, if just as what I thought would be a talking point, and I actually had Travers going a bit later, so that
Okay.
he was identified in that, but yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
I think I'm going to stick with my JJ's thing. I'm going to go $1 million import. I'm going to go with Joshua Majet.
Okay.
My next pick.
Okay.
We haven't really spoken about him on the pod. I think he's been signed since the last one. Hasn't even featured in one of the articles yet. He'll certainly be in the next article because he's a recent signing or expected signing.
Mm-hmm.
But if we look at his numbers from the G League, he's been around the G League for a few years now. If you look at the last 3 seasons, so not the last season, but the 2 seasons prior, he was hovering around the 15 points and 10 assists a game. So, double in the G League is nothing to be sneezed at.
Yep.
And then, he really had a breakout last season, average 21 points and over 10 assists a game. So he looks like he could be a very solid distributor and really nab that starting point guard position for the JJs.
Mm-hmm. Like it.
Yep. Of the $1 million imports, he was my second favourite, and now that it's come back to me, I'm going to pick my favourite at the moment. It is Travis Trice, who will have locked into the point guard position now.
I think Benny's sort of rigged this a little bit here. I'm not sure he might come in at that $1 million price, but we'll see.
Yeah, so I think he will be $1 million.
Okay.
Quietly confident of that.
2 seasons off. So
2 seasons off. Using that Bairstow, I guess precedent. And look, just what you're seeing on the screen now, if you're watching on YouTube, is something that I decided to do was to look at the game log for Travis Trice and convert his matches into fantasy points. So we're looking at averages of 33 and 36. Now, if we look at, I guess, so that'd price him at about 1.45 if they do want to base him on that previous price. Now, this lineup that they've got at the moment, the Hawks, I don't think you would not want to be anywhere else and playing point guard anywhere else than where Travis Trice is for the Hawks, because if they keep Jessup, you're going to have, if he gets around a screen, you're going to have Sam Froling or Big Duop Reith to do lobs with. Sam Froling's a great pick and pop player, or you can just dish it out for assists to Justinian Jessup and Tyler Harvey at the moment. Such good shooting around that. Really happy to get Travis Trice with this particular pick. How am I looking from a roster construction at the moment? Let's have a look.
You got a point guard and a centre in there at the moment.
Are we worried in any way with this pick, Benny, that Trice is more a shoot-first point guard as opposed to a distributor?
He
in a team of shooters like Harvey and Jessup.
I think he will be he can obviously score the ball, but I just think with the amount of shooting around him, he will rack up assist numbers, and he did have, like, obviously the ability to space the floor is pretty big as far as racking up assists. And as soon as he went to the G League, obviously the rules are different and there is more space, but he did get doubles in assists as well. So you got to think. So when he came into the league, I think he played 1 year in the then D League,
G League,
and then come over here for the 2 seasons. And I obviously haven't been following that close, but you kind of expect him to have improved. So,
we played for Team USA when they didn't have any of the NBA guys playing and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I see your point, Benny. He was only averaging 15-ish points when he was in the NBL last time. So I don't think he's a pure shoot first. Like, it's not like he's averaging 20 or 25.
Yeah.
So I see your point, averaging sort of 3.5, and then 5 assists for the 2 years that he was in the NBL. So makes sense to me, Benny.
All right, just looking at my roster now, I might get another one of my next favourite $1 million player that we've got here, and it is Big Duop Reith, please. Pop him in the next to Dane there at power forward. And obviously could potentially come in cheaper. We saw him play against... was it Nigeria, the last game against Nigeria, had 17 points. I think he looks like he's just got great touch and he moves really well. He's not as good a player as much of a lock as Jock was last year. But like, I still think he'll be a double threat, and
I think
he'll be finishing off a lot of good work by Travis Trice, hopefully, if my team is going to succeed. But yeah,
I think it looks very favourably that Gorge has got him on that Boomers team and then signed him. So he's probably seen some stuff behind closed doors that makes Gorge really want to get there. I think defensively he could be good in the NBL as well. Not sure what he was averaging block wise or anything like that. No,
he was affecting shots from what
not
I
too
saw.
bad. Yeah. He hit a nice little jumper today, but I think just the athleticism of the Nigerian team sort of made his numbers diminish, I think, today or tonight's game. So sorry, but I think, mate, we all see what big men do in our league. I think he's going to be a real double threat. So I reckon that's a good signing. I nearly took him with one of my first 2 picks.
Oh, thank you.
So there you go.
Back to you, Banksy.
All right, let me have a little look here. I'm leaning between a couple. But just based on the positions that you've got the $1 million imports there at Benny, I think I'm going to lock in Ronald Jordan Hunter, RJ Hunter, with my next signing. Reason being is, at the moment, looks like we could have him at shooting guard and or small forward. But if we get that shooting guard eligibility, we know that's been in the past, a pretty shallow position. You got Cotton and Daylight. So I think starting at $1 million, that could be a pretty juicy import pick out of the imports if he's one of the limited imports we've got at the shooting guard position. If we think back to last season, it was a bit of an issue.
For sure.
You've got a guard there that's got NBA experience. You've got a guy that's spent a number of years, like Majet, in the G League as well, and he's put up some really, really juicy numbers. So he had 3 or 4 consecutive seasons in the G League where he's averaged around that 18 to 22 points per game. But I like that looking at his stats there, he sort of fills the other stat columns as well, sort of, 4 to 5 assists, 4 to 5 rebounds per game there as well across those seasons. So I think he looks like a guy that can fill multiple stat columns, and that shooting guard position gets me.
Yep, and just from a draft strategy perspective, my current lineup, still having a shooting guard to pick and a small forward to pick isn't far from ideal, but we'll see how that all plays out. Bordy, you're up.
All right, I am up. I'm going to lock in another cheapie with my next pick, just so I can just go bananas in the last couple of rounds.
You got cash to splash.
Yeah, but I'm going to lock in Jack McVeigh because as soon as I can slide Brokoff off into that shooting guard position, I'll bring Jack McVeigh. Probably will start at the Jack Jumpers, I think, based on their roster. I think with the extra minutes, I think he's going to show us some things. He's a hustler. He's get boards. He's a scorer. So I'm going to chuck him in there. Just slide him on in and see how much cash holder I got. A little bit to spend here. Ooh, a little bit over $1 million now. So now we're looking a bit thin at that sort of position, unfortunately. Now, what am I going to do now?
Talk through your decision making of there's a few names here we haven't touched on as well. If there's an import, for example, that you're thinking about but you're not quite sold on yet, that you're looking to see a bit more from first.
Yeah, look, I'm trying to just build a team, I guess, is what I'm thinking. And I guess at the moment we've got Adams from of the $1 million players left. We've got Adams for the Jack Jumpers, who I think is going to be an exciting player to watch, but I'm not sure he's going to be consistent enough with his scores for mine. But that's purely based on highlights and sort of what I've seen. Noting though, and as Banksy mentions in his article, if you check it out on basketballblokes.com, he actually out-assisted, I think it was, or out-rebound at least, Sobey when they were playing together for a couple of years in college. I mean, we're a long time away from that now. But if you want to read a bit into that, why not?
Looking for anything at this early stage?
Well, that's it. So that is.
His mixtape wasn't bad to watch too.
Oh,
he's got hops.
Yeah,
he does. I'm going to go a little bit off center here at the moment, I think. Because we've got a little 6-man position there, so I'm going to play around a little bit, just for S's and giggles. I'm actually going to take Xavier Cooks with my next pick.
Okay.
I think he's he's probably one of the lesser premium. We're going to say premium because he's over $1 million, but is that really a premium price? 1.35. I think injury riddled year. I think once again a preseason. I think we can get him looking his best again. No slouch playing on the Boomers in the Boomers squad, and was probably possibly pretty close to getting picked there. So I'm gonna take Cooks. It's just a bit of an outsider.
Really like it. I think we had looking at this team list, and if pricing holds, had a bit of a discussion off pod about people that we would actually pay over $1 million for, and to be honest, I think I said there's only one, and Bordy and I both picked it, gave each other a little clue, and we both thought the exact same player, and Xavier Cooks looking very good in your 6-man slot there, Bordy.
What was his price?
1.34 or something. Yeah.
1.35. Yeah.
So it's a 34 average. So what do you sort of, at a bit of a guesstimate, what do you foresee him averaging next season? So we know how undervalued he is.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think I really took that into account.
We can talk it out. I reckon we can talk it out.
What was his high? Oh, his high was 44, but he had 20s and 44, so nothing really poking out at you there. I don't know.
And his mate J-Mart averaged 38.
I honestly think he could be a top 5 fantasy player in the whole comp.
I reckon he'll be up there. Yeah. How did he average 34 actually? Anyways,
He's pretty solid in his return.
Yeah, you're right. I think this is our scores thing wasn't quite up to date, but yeah. I don't know. I'm just happy to back it. I'll back it in.
Good stuff.
Don't mind it.
Back to you, I think, Banksy.
Oh, I'm next. Oh, geez. Okay. All right. Let me look how my team is structured. So what have I got? Majed at point guard. Not Corey's brother. Maggette. RJ Hunter at shooting guard, and I've got big Will Magnay at centre. So,
you need another value.
Small forward, power forward, or the 6-man. I'm going to be here all day if I don't just pick someone, so I don't want to bore you guys. So let's have a look. I've got the 6-man spot, so maybe I'll just pick who I think is of value. Look, maybe I'm a little bit biased because I did some research on this guy that you've just mentioned, Bordy, and had him in the article there as well. But I actually like what I read about Josh Adams. So I'm going to stick with my JJ's flavour. I'll have to, for now, slot him in at that 6-man position with my lineup. But I guess it takes a shooting guard off the table as well, knowing that Benny might be a little bit thin there.
You can actually put RJ up to small forward though, Banksy. because I think he was dual
Ah,
position there. So you
I
can
think
move
I'll
him
do
up.
that. Yeah, let's do
And then
that.
so you slide in Adams. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, did a little write up on him. Obviously, we all saw his mix tape there as well. So, guy can jump, is athletic. He's played in just about every league in the world. But if more recently we look at his G League numbers, if we're going to look at RJ Hunter and him averaging that 19 to 20 points a game and hitting the other stat columns, well, I think this guy can as well. So 16 points per game, 4 boards and 4 assists. So they're not bad numbers. And that was in 11 starts from 20 games. So it's not like he was starting every game to get those stats. So half of those games were off the bench. So if he's going to get the start at the JJs, I don't think they have a huge amount of shooting players in there right now. Yeah, I think at $1 million, he's going to be a value on that team.
Like it.
Interesting. So only if we have a look now, coming up to my selection, only the New Zealand boys left and Dusty Hannes.
And the Brisbane Isaiah Moss.
Yeah, so most of these are kind of been... we talked about how the New Zealand roster was stacking up, and just taking a look at it now, just really guard heavy. The talk is, if you haven't heard, that Corey Webster will potentially be lining up with the Brisbane Bullets. It seems to be that's where the mail is, that he's exploring his options, and still very guard heavy, which kind of puts me off Seaver and Besson a bit. Look,
and some of these guys aren't official yet as well, are they?
Well, if they're all going official, that'll do me. But yeah. Probably worthwhile mentioning. So looking at you guys, your rosters, I can see you've both taken SG and SF, and there's one there that I probably would pick, but I hope he'll be around the turn because I don't think you want to waste an SG spot on your 6-man. So a bit of strategy there by me. Someone I'm really, really high on is Tyrell Harrison Boyd. I think you're going to have to slot him into my 6th-man spot. Rolling rosters at the moment, I've notionally got Webster in there at the moment as a rumour. But so Isaiah Moss is an import signing already. They've actually got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players signed. Obviously, there's a big gaping hole there where Vic Law would sit. But that would be their roster done if that was the case. And I really like Harrison to
taking the minutes what Harrison was having.
Yeah, if we looked at last season, points per minute to that centre position for Brisbane was through the roof. It was very elite. So I really like Tyrell. I think he's definitely playable this year. If he starts, I'm thinking like top 10 upside for Tyrell Harrison this year, just from the start. So very keen on him. 950k, so under $1 million. So happy with that. How's the old roster looking now? So
geez, you got an average of 1.1 to use, mate. You're rolling in cash.
Yeah, so interesting that I said that I'll hope that the next person's there. Obviously, I forgot that I was on the turn. So whether or not, I guess I better take someone now. So
yeah, you better.
1.15. Let's have a look at the player pool again. So let's just have a look at where we're looking up. There is someone at the 1.15 price that I quite like as well, but don't have that position. So someone that... let's have a look down here. Do I want to spend big on that last spot? There is really no one who I'm too happy to pay up for at all. So look, I'm just not going to do the maths on it. I'm just going to pick Dusty in my shooting guard spot, please, Boydie.
I feel like I've ruined your strategy a little bit, Benny.
Yeah, no, there was not much strategy happening, to be honest.
The cat may have moved from 5 mil to 5.5 just before we started the pod, just to accommodate that Pinot pick and leaving $1 million thereafter.
Yeah, but look, Adelaide's roster, what are we thinking of it? I'm a big fan of how it's looking at the moment. Just bring that up. So, Dusty is an elite shooter, as far as I can tell.
Yes.
Should be starting. it's like they're surrounded by Mitch McCarron and Sunday Deck, right? So I tend to think that they'll be kind of facilitating a lot for Dusty. That's the hope anyway. And look, Brandon Paul was that off-the-ball player for Adelaide last season, and he at times showed potential of having a bit of a fantasy game. Hopefully, Dusty can do something similar.
And I did a little bit of a write-up on him in our last article there online as well, Benny. And look, he's an elite shooter from everything I read. So he, in his last season in the NBA G League, played 37 games, shot 45% from behind the arc, averaged 21 points, 2 assists and 2 rebounds. So I guess with a guy like that, he's going to shoot the lights out. That's what he's there to do. He's got a little bit of that, almost a Jessup mold about him, but it's just a matter of, when we're looking at these fantasy guys, can he hit those other stat columns as well? And that's the question mark as to how successful he'll be fantasy wise, eh?
Yep. And just like an early impression, Boyd, picking Dusty over the New Zealand guys in Siva and Besson, how are you feeling about that at the moment without really seeing any of it?
I'm feeling I'd be picking Dusty over those two guys.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Yeah, it's my
G League
impression.
form. I like the G League form. I think it's sort of shown previously that it kind of works. So I think I'd be happy with that.
Cool. Thanks very much for that. Back to you, Banksy, and we're looking. You've got a power forward and a sixth man left. Average remaining 8.5, 8, and so you got.
You sure don't want to give Magnay dual positioning here? You don't want to give him the power forward for me?
We just copied it off the listing from this year, so who knows what they'll do. So
I'm going to struggle here, I'll tell you.
I'm struggling too.
I like that 1.15 million there as well, Benny. That was.
So you can put him in at your sixth.
I can.
But what are you left with? That's going to be the issue, isn't it?
It'll be a bit of a write-off last pick, won't it? But then I can't fit. What have I got left? I can't fit $2 million imports in either.
Correct.
So average of 855k per player for my last 2 picks.
Yep.
Well, if I look at it, just having a look at the player pool, I don't know if you've got that on the screen now, Benny.
I do. Where you shopping?
So if we look at players around that price point, got the next star there at 850k. Don't know a lot about him. I don't think he's going to get much of a look in with all the guards there at the moment. And I don't know that any of the guys around that price point are going to see any immediate improvement on last season's average as well. So,
what if I was to ask you to have a look down at the 250k price point? Because I think that there's honestly some of these guys are equal to these 850kers as far as their fantasy production potentially.
There's a few there. I mean, obviously we know Kai Soto was a huge signing for the league, just in terms of the eyes that we'll get from overseas. But I mean, I'm just having a look at the rolling roster. I mean, he's going to be coming in behind Humphreys and DJ there as well. So you sort of question the minutes there, but I
don't think it'll be too bad, to be honest. He's obviously playing for the Filipino national side at the moment as well, so we'll get a bit of a preview. But
so he could be one. We've got Jack Salt. We've got DP, Dion Prewster there as well. He featured in the last article. We've seen him a couple of times in the league, but just has never managed to either get the opportunity or transition his New Zealand numbers into our NBL league. So he's another one you could look at. So I think what I'm going to do, look, you're right, Benny. I think there is, maybe I've overlooked these 250Ks a little bit. You've got my boy Majuk in there as well, I see. So I think I might actually use up my 6-man position for now.
Yep. That's what I'd be
doing. And while he's still there, I'm going to, with how the current United roster is structured, I'm going to actually slot in JLA.
Okay.
Obviously things are definitely, as you said, it's very early days that we're looking at this, but as it stands, United don't have another centre there. And we know that JLA is literally a jet when it comes to points per minute. So, we're well aware that United will likely sign a big man there, but at this current point, he's value with where it stands.
All right, and Banksy, just going to see the magic moment of how much cash you're going to have left. 560k for you, Banksy, on the way
That's
back.
all right.
So,
How many power forwards is there to choose under that price? Is there one? Oh, yeah, there's one. 2. 3.
Anyway,
Oh, there's a couple.
it's a bit of fun. I didn't think this through, but yeah. We can trade after this, right?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we can. There's plenty of trading going on. Just purely by...
Centre and point guard.
Just purely by... Sorry, I'm going to speak... I need to speak English, don't I? Sorry, guys.
That's all right. Some people watch on the listen on the podcast.
Look, I'm just going to be a man of the people, and I'm going to take Soto.
Okay.
With my next pick, because then and I'm purely doing that because of the money it leaves me. Because then
You've been doing quick maths.
I can do quick maths.
That's probably what I should have done, to be honest.
And why not? He's starting for the Boomers. I'm going to go Dellavedova. Just smash it in there as the starting point guard.
Taking my boy.
Just why not?
Okay, that's a nice looking roster.
Now finishes up my roster. So I have Dellavedova, Rowdy Brokoff, Jack McVeigh, Luke Travers, Kai Soto, and Xavier Cooks sitting there. Now the reason why I took those guys, like you said, Benny, and I was hoping you weren't talking Banksy into taking Kai Soto.
Yep.
With that little speech there. That's why I don't know if anyone picked up on me being absolutely silent during that whole discussion. I think he's going to get minutes. As you say, he's playing for the Philippines at the moment, the Gilas. So, although there was some rumour I thought I saw the other day saying that he might not play for them because Adelaide want him to come over and start training or something, but I'm not sure how correct that was. I think he's going to get minutes, 250k, and he's a big man. Look, I think, he might just surprise on the upside. I had that position available, so I thought, why not? The other cheapie that I want to keep my eye on, and I'm happy to release this at the moment, because I sort of was keeping one eye on how he was playing over in the World Champs. Talk to me, what are they, under...
Emus, 19s?
Yeah, under 19s, is Bawali Bales for Sydney.
Yep.
250k at the moment. Look, is he the reserve point guard? Probably not. You got Sean Bruce sitting there as well, but mind you, DJ 3J is injured for a while. I know they've signed Swaka Low Bullock as a replacement for DJ 3J initially, who's more of a shooting guard more than a point guard. I think in the for the Emus, I really thought Bawali Bales should have been starting over Tamari Wigness. I thought he was sort of putting him to shame a little bit in what the games that I saw. So yeah, don't mind just a little bit of a cheapie there and out for the purposes of this little thing. Just to get people's eyeballs maybe watching him for pre-season to see how it turns out. Look, he could turn out like Tamari and spend 3 years getting no minutes as well, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yep. With the Emus, the calls were to, I guess, following on Twitter. I didn't watch a lot of it, to be fair, but people were hoping that Bale started over Wigness. So, it's probably going to be a similar standard player. Whether or not we're going to be able to pay down at one at point guard, we'll soon find out. But I like the Soto pick. The Dellavedova thing, you're going to have to talk me through a little bit more, if that's all right, because you had enough money. You're just being a man of the people. You had enough money for Tyler Harvey and Ty Webster.
Oof.
And Mitch McCarron.
Yep.
Why Daly?
I looked at Mitch McCarron as well. Why Daly?
Proven.
Come on. Tell me, sell me.
I just think he's going to... once again, none of those... Well, there's only one that can do that. There's a guy... He's starting for the Boomers at the moment. So I'm thinking that puts him ahead of Mitch. But, look, I don't know. That's a lot. That might even be a line ball call in our... I just think he's going to be ball dominant, obviously. I think he's going to get plenty of assists. They'll have players around him that'll be able to score.
Yep.
Defensively, he's no slouch, so could get a few numbers in there.
Yep.
I don't know. I just like it. Maybe he's a little bit pricey at 1.5, but
in that
as soon as I had the money
market,
available, I was like, why not?
yeah. Look,
Why not
Got to
have a
remember,
crack?
got to remember what team he's playing for as well. I mean,
Like United,
when this roster's filled out, as they usually do every season, they're going to have some shooters in there.
correct.
So I think he's going to get his assist numbers, and I think there's only so much you can take out of the Olympic campaign. I know, particularly me and you, Boyd, had mentioned that looking at Delhi's numbers in those exhibition games, he failed to even score in actual points. And then we looked at his other numbers, and he was still getting rebounds, still getting assists in the minutes he was playing, and he got a little bit going tonight in the pieces that I saw. I think he hit two big knockdown threes. So
that's all one.
he's a player that his shooting's going to be a little bit inconsistent, but I think you're right. I think he will hit the stats in the other columns, being a hustle player and being surrounded by guys in a United roster that he'll have those shooters there to get those assist numbers.
That's good discussion. It's going to be interesting as that goes on. I like that we're touching on all these different price points. And I think I would have McCarron over Webster and Harvey in particular because I feel like the ball's going to be out of their hands a lot more this season. With the point guard,
Harvey's going to be more of a just pure shooter this year. You'd think a little bit more. Which maybe drops his numbers slightly. I think he's still going to be awesome. Because I think he's I've said it on previous pods. I think he's cotton light.
Beautiful.
Without being, I don't want that to be offensive to him because I think he's a jet. But how good Cotton's been in this league for the last however many years. So, but I really rate Harvey. But I just thought I don't think I had. Maybe I did have enough money to do it. But why not have a punt on the boomer?
Yep. We're not playing for keeps just yet. Banksy.
No, there's still plenty of signings to go. We've only got bloody 5 imports to choose from. There's going to be how many in the league? 24 or whatever it is.
Yeah, so. Fun process this regardless. So maybe not so much fun for Banksy who has 560 grand to spend on a power forward. So
look, it's a bit of fun, guys.
Hang on. So how much you got to spend, Banksy?
560k.
So you've got choices. You've got Jared Bairstow for the Jack Jumpers. You've got
3-year deal
for Danovich for Sydney. You've got Kieran Galloway for New Zealand, maybe. But Finn's not going anywhere, so he probably get the same amount of playing time as he did last year. Gack for Illawarra.
Let's. I've pinned myself to a corner here, understandably, and
you got David Okwira.
Doing this on the fly probably was the right decision to go Soto of JLA to free up that cash for my power forward. However, for what it's worth, if I have to pick out of those guys, and I'd have to risk it on the guy that's, I guess, going to be starting for that new Jack Jumpers team potentially, although he's going to a little bit of competition, I guess. Was what have they got a power forward? They got Krislovic as well, so those two probably likely fighting out that position at this point.
3-year deal.
I don't like it.
Baby bear.
He might be like, I've got my 3-year deal. I've got my cash. I'm going to do bugger all. Who knows? But, I don't like it. But if I'm picking out of those guys, that's who I've got to pick. And, I should have kept my cash handy there and locked in Soto over JLA. But it is what it is.
Quite surprised you take him over Vodanovic in that Sydney lineup as it is at the moment as well. But interesting. But
going by your Cooks signing along Jamer,
all right. True.
Don't see it happening. And
all right, Benny.
Not much better.
And I think if we're going to pull anything out of that pick, I mean, obviously remember who Bairstow was playing for. Although he was getting those starts. I mean, he wasn't getting the shots, so maybe we haven't seen the best of him yet and what he's capable of. I mean, it was the Cotton show, it was the Mooney show, so he didn't really get a look in. But this is a new team, it was brand new team, so maybe he'll get a little bit more opportunity. Maybe he will be a guy we talk about at some stage. Price to get 500.
Glad you said that, Banksy, because they are a new team, and it's interesting to note that you've picked 4 of their players.
Yes.
And I've picked 1.
There's value there.
There is.
Just to show you, in fantasy world out there, we need to be paying attention to the Jack Jumpers.
Yep.
Being the new team in the league. So if this draft doesn't teach us anything, it is to keep your eye on the JJs.
Beautiful.
Benny, you got one more pick to go. You got plenty of cash. 1.23 million to spend on a
small forward.
Small forward.
All right. So player pool. I'm not too. I'm kind of happy with how this worked out. But there's two I'd like to talk through with you, gents. So we've got obviously the previously mentioned Hugo Besson at $1 million. I'm not feeling that. Basically, a next star caliber player. Assuming he gets SG status now. Corey Webster at 1.11, shooting guard, who I think will end up on Brisbane, but nonetheless, I think that
you've only got a small forward left, buddy. Stop looking at shooting guards.
Okay, I got confused because my main pick is Justinian Jessup, who I'd like to slot in there, please, over Todd Blanchfield, who I could afford. So that's going to make my team look not too bad, to be fair. If Justinian comes back, we're thinking he will improve. He kind of faded out last year. I think with an extra year under the legs that might actually help him out a bit. So there we have it. We've got the 3 rosters there. What I'm going to do, I think we tweet this out, gents, with the different rosters and get the people to vote as to who won the draft. And if they choose either myself or Boydie, then we know that it's legit. And Jared Bairstow stands out a little bit for you there, Banks. But nonetheless,
unfortunate. But
nonetheless, a fun process. Good to catch up with you fellas in lockdown. And I think we've done a pretty good job of discussing some of these learnings, like where's the value, who you're happy to pay up for, what teams have some value. So
it's a good way to identify value, isn't it?
It is.
That's what the preseason is about. You know, we don't know everything we need to know yet, but you know, we've got a good handle on, and we didn't do this last season, Benny. So kudos to you. But we've now got that page, so we can actually see what players are likely to be priced at, and so we can actually start thinking a bit earlier than we have in past seasons.
Obviously, there's still plenty of names to be added to the draft pool list, so we might even do this. We might explore this again later down the path once there's a few more signings. But I think what it showed me is that there's different, you know, even in fantasy, there's different strategies involved. You boys went pretty hard with the $1 million guys, whereas I sort of went with, because of the cap, I sort of went with a couple of guys underneath that first, and then that freed me up. So I've got a couple of premiums in there with Daly and Xavier Cooks. But in saying that, I've sort of gone with guys that I think are going to be start or getting near starter minutes at least. So yeah, it was interesting.
Yep,
it was a good little thing.
So obviously it's going to be a kind of longish off season, and we're sort of guessing that's probably going to be looking at November sometime, the way the world is at the moment, before we get the season kicking off. But the plan is to do these kind of drafts. We've already put it out to some of our Patreon supporters that might want to get involved. We might do a bit of, we won't call it State of Origin because that's probably a bit topical at the moment, but your 36ers fans versus Melbourne United fans. So we might try and ask like Tommy Hirsch if he wants to get on and do a draft with Banksy, team up with Banksy and see what... because I think it really did generate good discussion. We might be able to do ones with completely no salary cap. So we're looking at the top of the table. Who does everyone like? We can mix and match it, and I think it's going to be a good little tool to use. Now, I have a dream one day of actually trying to run a draft-style NBL fantasy competition. We did it in the cup last year.
Like it.
It's obviously a lot of work, and there is some difficulty to it, I guess, as far as how big the league is. But I think draft-style fantasy is awesome. So it's been a lot of fun. Good to catch up with you fellas. And if there's anything else that... I've got nothing else to say, Banksy, before Bordy wraps us up.
No, I guess the only thing I'd say, I mean, if there any other... I mean, we had to pick how our team was sort of structured there towards the end. Was there any sort of other, you know, you probably did a little bit more research than me and Boydie, Benny. Was there any other sort of standout value players you thought from that under, $1 million under sort of price bracket there?
I said,
I think...
Yeah, look, I said that I had 8 players that I thought would go quite early. And of the ones that were under, I had Pinot, Brokoff, and Travers with a bunch of the $1 million guys. And Magne. So without even talking to you guys, you identified them all early as well. Seems to be a bit of consensus there, which was good. a little strategy thing for the draft. It's always good, I think, if you can leave your sixth man slot open as long as you can. That was one thing we found out as well. So I was trying to do that, but decided not to in the end. But seeing you guys had gone through. But if we did this on a larger scale, you would have to be really thinking about that, keeping that sixth man, and just beggars can't be choosers at the end of the draft kind of thing. But yeah, good stuff.
If you're looking for a pick Banksy, one that is sort of teased me a little bit, but I haven't. I'm not prepared to go all out and say it just yet.
Yeah, I've got another one as well.
The other one that I like, and a bit of news in the off season with him, is Mojave King.
That's exactly the one I was about to say.
He's a lot cheaper this year. Like, he started off at that next $850K. And if people remember, his first couple of games, he had a 20-ish, 21-ish, then a 0, and then a 27. So I think he can score in the fantasy game. And then later in the season as well, I know he had a 24 and a 31 or thereabouts, a couple of scores in the 20s and a couple of 30s.
So much upside. He just needs opportunity.
Exactly.
Needs opportunity.
And I think he's moved to a spot where he knows he's going to get opportunity. I feel like he might have some sort of agreement on minimum minutes average, something along those lines. And I think giving him opportunity is going to give him is going to make him score. So depending on schedule, that's one to keep your eye on. The other one, like, he's
going to say my other one.
900K? No?
No.
I really like Mason Peatling.
Okay, Mason Peatling. Yeah. All right, interesting, because Jack White's still out for a lot of the year, so that makes sense to me as well. Any other? Is that your point?
That's my one. Who's the other one that Banksy's thinking?
I was just going to slightly earmark. I mean, you're looking at that price that Mojave is. Again, it's just going to depend on how things pan out. But you mentioned Jessup is not 100% at this point. If he wasn't to come back, and obviously we know, there's Simon has obviously left that Illawarra squad as well. Well, then we've got Dan Greeter, obviously an injury-affected year, really showed a bit the season prior as well. So, if he gets opportunity, 510K.
I think the key thing with Greeter as well, 510K, but also late in the season, he picked up a few games where he played bigger minutes. I'm not sure he didn't play massive minutes. I really think that Gorge rates him on a defensive side of things, and he can definitely score when he gets the opportunity. Did have a 35-point game later in the season against NZ.
And I'm glad you said that, because Simon is, when you talk about defense, I mean, at that position and the team as a whole, that's a big loss from a defensive sense if Simon's out. So you would think Greeters are automatically going to pick up minutes there with the defense that he brings, but also losing Simon at small forward as well. And the question mark around Jessup. So one to watch and one to see how that pans out.
Schedule and all that sort of stuff might come into it as well.
As always.
But that's about it, I think.
Yeah, God, we got through a lot, didn't we? Touched on a lot of different players,
and still there's quite a few signings to go, especially imports. So
and good to see Banksy mentioned Majok as well. So that was good to see.
Oh, always. I can't believe it. I actually can't believe he didn't pick him, to be honest.
Kai Sotu, Majok.
Burn me once. Could be the new Mooney, hey?
Could be the new Mooney. All right, boys. As always, we are always on Twitter at @bball_blokes. I try and the other boys are working hardcore on other stuff at the moment, website and all sorts of things. So I am trying to keep track of Twitter as best I can. I'm a bit slack with Facebook, but we are Basketball Blokes on Facebook. And then, as always, the website basketballblokes.com, your number one source of NBL fantasy news. Be interesting to see the responses we get on this one on Twitter especially. But until next time, catch you later.
Give them away, fellas.